Hello and welcome to another episode of The Many Parallels. We're your hosts, Trevor and Zach, and today we are talking about the ways in which people think. Alright, Zach, do you want to get started or do you want me to get started with the shit I got here?
You can kick it off.
Alright, so I guess preface this, we're talking about the ways in which people think and formulate their thoughts, I guess, and just kind of view the world, outlook on it. At least that's what I wrote shit about. So the first one I'll start with is the one we fall into, which I just kind of gave the name of the philosopher. And I would define it as, as defined, someone who's considered a philosopher when they actively engage in the pursuit of knowledge and wisdom through the systematic study and contemplation of fundamental questions about existence, reality, value, and the nature of knowledge itself. Philosophers seek understanding and analyze these aspects through rational inquiry and critical thinking. They often find themselves pondering all worlds, physical, metaphysical, and spiritual, and the connection between those, and tend to focus more on secondary and even tertiary aspects of life, sometimes even detrimentally. So what do you think about that?
Would that be, I feel like that would be equivalent to like the sage archetype, which is what I would think of, which is like the Jungian type of model. And
I'm not familiar, could you?
Yeah.
Me?
It's just, it basically is like the teacher or the wise one or whatever. The person that, it could be like the king's advisor maybe, or somebody that's very knowing, or, you know, the wise man. Like think Master Roshi or somebody.
I say the philosopher, but it doesn't necessarily equate wisdom.
Right.
Which, just because you are intrigued by these things and you think more
deeply, it doesn't mean you know.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
there is a difference there.
Yeah.
Fair. But it reminded me of that because I guess I haven't heard of that archetype before. So
well, yeah, all the ones I written down, I just kind of try to give a name myself, and they're all from my own experience. But people who think about the bigger picture, and sometimes that means you don't focus on the smaller picture of what's going on in life, and that can be detrimental, which is a big con of the archetype. But
and you're not connected with like you could lack emotions towards things, or you could fall into a detachment when you just are analyzing things and you just care about the facts, or you just care about the deeper meaning. When everybody's not at that level of a deeper meaning, it's like there's a disconnect there sometimes.
And then sometimes too, it can be detrimental because you think too much about things that are irrelevant because they don't actually affect you, but you think they affect you, or they do affect you on a cosmic scale that you can't affect.
Right.
And you let it get to
control.
You. You let it bother you too much. But yeah, that's the one I coded in the philosopher, which I feel like me and you both fall into. And the ones I have, there is some overlap between them, and it's not like this is exclusive to everybody, but it's things I've seen of kind of how people think. So yeah, which one do you want to go with if you have anything else to add on to this?
Well, in terms of like another type, or in terms of on this type?
Either or.
Okay.
If you have something else to say on this type, do that. Or...
Yeah, just it makes me think of myself, basically, where like, you know, I have a very analytical nature and want to know like why a lot of the time, but that can be a very big roadblock when you don't always need to know why or focus on the why of the situation. You just need to focus on either what it is or how it is, or, you know, the way it is, and not focus on why it is. And I don't know what that compulsion almost is of wanting to know why or where things come from, but it's kind of just like a quest for like deeper meaning, deeper knowledge. Maybe it's like a lack of something in oneself that, you know, they're outwardly expressing.
Well, you know, I got very broad with it because I use the definition of what an actual philosopher is. But, you know, this sort of archetype, I just think of, you think about the the less impactful things, you know, like, I mean, Jordan Peterson, one of his rules for life is to kind of not do this of, you know, put your own house in order before you try to fix the world. And I feel like people in this category particularly tend to want to change the world and want to.
They can be very imposing or whatever.
Well, and can worry about things when their own shit is in order. For instance, like, you know, I got my own daily struggles, and then I'm sitting here thinking about politics and thinking about all this shit that, yeah, it affects me. But who am I to make any changes when my own shit is not in order?
Yeah.
Which is a very big detriment to people like this. And, like, obviously there's benefits, too, to looking at broader picture. You'll see things other people might not see, connections they might not.
Like, if you're living too much, it's weird because, in a way, we're kind of saying that they live in the macro too much almost, but at the same time, that's almost a micro.
They live in the vast macro and the very micro, but they don't live
in the middle.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's like a hyperfixation on each end of the spectrum almost. Yeah, which is interesting, and I think that it's probably something to like. Everybody, like the people that are of that archetype, express it to a different degree, right? Like everybody's got their own degree of how much they express their desires for that type of shit.
So I'm just gonna go to the other one I have because it's less written, but it's sort of a sub archetype of that of the analyst.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you fall into that, but I know I for sure do. And where you view everything analytically as if it's a math problem to be solved or type shit. You need to have these.
Where you go on Wikipedia and you end up 10 pages later.
Oh, that's just fucking
compulsion.
Yeah, I feel like that's a thing for all the philosophers, and it can be about some dumb shit that you're going on Wikipedia. It don't fucking matter, but
it's like the trove of information is like such an appeal, you know.
But
for
with
people.
the analyst, I get that term because I don't know. My therapist would always say I'm very analytical about everything, and how things connect, and there needs to be a reason.
Yeah.
Like fucking A lot of dispute even got a line. Everybody wants a reason for everything. It's so much easier when someone or something's to blame, and that's a big detriment to being analytical. Is sometimes things just fucking happen.
Yeah.
And you know, you get bogged down in the why when why it happened doesn't necessarily matter, but what does matter is, you know, what happened because of it. But yeah, I say an analyst is somebody who gets bogged down in the why. A philosopher specifically, yeah.
Okay, that's fair. You got some good like sub archetypes in here, bro. I wasn't even thinking in terms of that, but it is very true that there are like different types of a type, essentially.
Yeah, well, so I mean that's the two of that side, and then the other ones I have are the other side of the coin, if you will, and then they're kind of opposite sides of the coin of that side of the coin, if that makes any fucking sense.
No, yeah, I was kind of thinking about that too. In my research for this was like a lot of them are just reflections of each other or whatever. And another very interesting thing is how a lot of times parents that might fulfill a certain archetype will make a kid that mirrors the opposite archetype. It's very like I just was like thinking about it in my own real life, and I'm like, wow, that happened, that happened multiple times. Okay.
And I mean, yeah,
like
that's
nature.
Literary trope is kind of what defined my other two, which I don't know if you want to get into. If you want to get into yours first, but there definitely is that, you know, if your parents are one, you'll kind of, you know, because that role needs to be filled, you'll fill a different one.
Yeah.
And I feel a weird sense because I feel like my mom is also sort of the analyst in a sense that I became, but in a different aspect.
Right. Like you'd be different sub-archetypes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it's weird. But I'm curious which ones you got, unless you want to dive into all mine and then go to all yours.
No, I mean, the one that I say intrigues me quite the most is the magician archetype. Another, Jungian.
I'm assuming all the Jungian ones are named after tarot cards then?
Not really. Well, kind of, but I don't even know that much about tarot cards, so maybe you have to tell me.
I don't know very much other than like the few,
So
like the Fool I know and
basically,
shit.
like the magician archetype has the ability to take situations, take circumstances, and create with them. Create with them what they will. They will creation into existence. It's kind of like there's another archetype called the creative, and it's kind of like the creative archetype, but they're a little bit different in the sense that, like, I don't know how to explain it really. Like it's the magic aspect of it. The creative can just create with like simple means, while the what do you call it? The magician is going to use like emotions or like feelings or persuasion, manipulation, this type of stuff. Like I would say that, like, I have some family members that fit the magician archetype, where they use their influence, their humor, their charm, wit, whatever, to transmute a situation from one feeling to another or whatever. And I think that that's like really an incredible ability for people to just be able to, I don't know, transmute situations. It's like, it's inspiring, and it makes me want to inherit some of that like behavior into myself, like make some of that archetype me.
So dive into more what you mean by transmute a situation. Like, could you
Okay, so let's
that?
say like at work.
This a little closer.
Let's say at work everything is like slow, boring, nothing's going on, and then this guy walks in, and he makes a joke, and that lifts the spirits of everybody. And then, I don't know, he like comes in, gives us like something to do, and then comes and helps us with that. And then like he's using his energy, his will, his ability to like change the momentum and the feeling of an environment from one thing to another, just by him enacting all of these different, I guess, motions or actions. It's like just really a creative use of your will. And like, I don't know, there's something about that
Somebody who just kind of changes the vibe. Like, they have a certain vibe about them.
that can just change the vibe.
Yes.
In the room, they lighten
They're-
up the room.
Say that they're very either spiritually or emotionally connected.
Exactly.
And that, and very aware of their own self to change the vibe.
They can turn simple shit into more exciting shit, or maybe make more exciting shit that people are perceiving seem like nothing or simple. It's like it's a real interesting, I guess, ability or expression of the psyche. And that's like, to me, I think that the magician is like probably one of the most powerful archetypes, just based upon the idea that they can persuade, manipulate, and influence, I guess, moods. But that magic depends on who they're interacting with. Some people might not, like, they might be, what do you call it, like, that magic might not work on them, basically.
And I can think of somebody in particular who fits that archetype in my own personal life. Rest in peace. He was
man.
Yeah, one of Dan's best friends growing up, Brad. He definitely had that kind of vibe where come in and bring that goofy energy, and shit'll be boring, and be able to make it more.
There's something commanding about these
Yeah,
individuals.
exactly. It's like it's such a weird thing.
And then you wonder, what is it about them? Like, what is it about them that they just have that vibe? But it's just like an energy about them.
Yeah, and
know?
As I said, it leaves a very lasting impact too, and it inspires of
wanting some of that yourself.
right. Like, how, bro? Literally. What else would you call it but magic?
It is.
It literally lifts
it's an
your mood. It's
unseen
crazy.
power. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
It is a very interesting archetype. Fuck.
And it's also, from what I've researched, like in the top 3 of the Jungian archetypes, it's like one of the rarest. There's like the king, the magician, and the sage, which are apparently the rarest to be. They're like around 1% of the population apparently. So,
So I'm gonna just guess off of the name. You said the king. What was the other one other than
magician and a sage.
Okay, so, I mean, you kind of said the sage, and I feel like that's not as rare. Maybe it's more deeply defined in the Jungian whatever the fuck I was gonna say doctrine in his writing. But I'm assuming the king is sort of a person who demands respect.
The ruler.
Yes, the ruler, but not in a tyrannical, dictatorial way.
They're very principled.
Yes, very highly principled, and they walk into a room and it's like, oh fuck, that's somebody I'm gonna fucking respect, and it's like they just have that presence.
Right, and somebody that takes on maybe the rebel type of archetype would totally, it's like, I don't want to call it they wouldn't get along with them. Maybe they would, but like a lot of times that's just a natural clash between those two. Like.
I mean, literally, dude. The king, that paragon, if you will.
Yeah.
Captain America. The rebel, Iron Man.
Oh, okay.
Literally, when you think about it like that, at least I'm assuming the rebel sounds pretty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or I mean, I don't know too much about superheroes, but like, is Deadpool kind of like a rebel or not really? Like,
I mean, to like social norm and
yeah, like
I don't know what.
like
I need to know more about the exact definition of the rebel, but
right, okay.
I mean, I'm thinking sort of the hot-headed,
Just,
my rules kind of.
Yeah,
thing.
my rules and fuck your rules.
Yeah, so
guy.
I guess Deadpool would, but I feel like Tony Stark embodies what I would think of a positive version of the rebel very much, and then
because he does his own thing too, his way, but he's like, he kind of has principles that are more in a line with like a Captain America, so they can like be well,
cool. Not even in line. Like they both want what's good,
right?
But the way in which to go about it is different. Captain America's very by the books and demands a sort of respect. That's why I feel like, assuming that's kind of what the king. That's what I think he falls into.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, Captain America is the king, and the reason I would say that the king is likely the one of the rarest archetypes apparently would be because it's just who wants to assume control over so much,
Yeah, I remember before they took it off YouTube watching some of the Exodus series from Jordan Peterson, and they were talking about it's a weird thing because the kind of people we want to lead are normally not the type of people that want to lead.
Right.
Because you want somebody who's humble and shit, and normally somebody who's like humble and wants the best for people does not want that responsibility of having to take care of everybody.
Yep.
But that's why a lot of stories in the Bible and such kind of thrust those people into those positions because, and even in fictional writing, that's a lot of the time of, the hero's journey straight up is
you have to take on responsibility
greater
than you.
And it's like they're hesitant. They don't want to. They want their cozy life. They get the call to action. They're like, nah, I'm good. And then they're thrust into the fire and come out the other end a
better man, a better human. Yeah. It's an interesting idea. And you could literally, it's crazy because you could be on one end of an archetype, like you could be a complete rebel. And like through your journey, you could get to the king.
Yeah, you're not set in stone
in that
with those archetypes. Yeah,
right. Absolutely. You want to go on to another one?
Yeah. So I guess my the other side of the coin for mine with the philosopher, I couldn't think of a nice catchy one word name. So it's not including but two, the peripheral exclusionary.
Interesting. I don't know what this will encompass.
So you exclude the peripherals, essentially. And I'd say this is the archetype that someone like Dan falls into.
Oh, okay.
And it's defined it as those who are unconcerned with, by willful choice, the broader goings-on in the world.
Yeah.
They care about their immediates. They often don't care about deep conversations, as it does nothing to progress their immediate lives, their immediate goals. They are often more concerned with the physical world as opposed to the metaphysical or spiritual, whatever. This, however, is not always the case, as some peripheral exclusionaries may be spiritual, but they care not for deeper understanding. And I'll put that in there because there's some, like, people who are Christian or whatever, but they would fit this. Yeah. And I'd say it's like, thinking when I talk to Dan, he's very well aware of all this goings on, but he chooses not to care because it doesn't fucking impact. Anytime I try to talk about a lot of shit, he's like, well, fuck do you care about this for? It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But I think that they're a great foil for somebody like a philosopher, and that's why
Exactly.
you need that kind of thing, because they're good to be like, yo, you're worrying about the wrong shit, and kind of help you get your focus back. But they might also overlook things because they're not looking at the peripheral as much. So you're good to be pointing out traps they might have missed, if you will.
Right.
And I think it's you need multiple personality types in any endeavor you're going to.
System.
Yeah, and that because we are social creatures. You can't just
go
on your own.
One of my main points I had was all of these different things make up parts of a whole, parts essentially of a whole psyche, and therefore, even though one might be greater in what they can produce or provide or whatever, like physical material stuff, like they might be provably greater in a sense, it doesn't mean that they're actually greater. They're no greater than the
because
next.
We are social creatures, and if human beings were made to fit into and be able to do everything, and they fit into a singular archetype,
we'd all be gods, bro.
We'd all be, but there wouldn't be a reason for us to make societies. We would be isolationists. We'd all be fucking probably misanthropes and off doing our own shit because fuck human beings. But it's like, no, you need to collaborate. You need to do things with other people.
What these different contrasting archetypes allow for is you to like realize your own shortcomings, or maybe where you're a little too focused and stuff like that.
Yeah, and it's nice because the other archetypes are the foil to fill in your shortcomings, and vice versa, that you are that for them.
Right. And
that's fucking beautiful. Humanity is great for that, but as, an introvert too, and I feel like, I could be wrong, but I feel like it's more of a thing that philosophers are more likely to be introverts, and peripheral exclusionaries are more likely to be extroverts, because as a philosopher, I don't got time to talk to people. I'm thinking about all this shit, and then, peripheral exclusionaries like,
I don't got time to think about all this shit. I want to talk to people.
Yeah, I want to do things. I got to get my goals going and shit, and it's a lot more. They're a lot more driven, I feel like.
Yeah,
and
interactive.
Yeah, exactly.
Like the more analytical or philosophical people will spend a lot of time. They're not afraid to spend a lot of time in their head.
But then you could run the risk of being the headstrong king of, we're going to just charge, and it's like, well, let's have a bit of strategy. Why don't we get our archers to go flank over there, and,
right.
Fucking, that's why you need a foil to it all.
Right, or you become the mad scientist or whatever, you just need it's good to be connected, and that is a very important point.
I just realized that, okay, so the four I have, the two I went over before, now this one and one other one. The first two I'd say are order archetypes, and the second two I'd say are chaos archetypes.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at that.
Yeah, because you need that yin and yang, and
it's which one do you prefer, essentially?
Well, yeah, which one do you prescribe to?
Yeah.
Because if you prescribe to order, well, you need to find somebody who's got a bit of chaos.
Yeah.
And vice versa, because if you're too chaotic, well, everything's fucking unpredictable and it's gonna fucking fall apart at any moment. But if you're too orderly, you're stuck inside a bubble, and if anything, because life will come and bite you in the ass, you will be unprepared for that.
Right.
Or you will be so prepared that you are in turn unprepared.
Right.
It's such a weird thing, but
if
you know, you know. I don't know how else to describe that.
Everything comes full circle.
Yes.
Quite literally. It's the idea, I forget where it's from, maybe like Greek mythology or Celtic. The snake eating its own tail, the serpent eating its own tail.
Yeah,
that's like a tale
Jormungandr, fucking
in
Norse mythology, the world serpent. But I think that's in other things, because I also know it as the Ouroboros, but I know I know that term for Full Metal Alchemist.
Okay, I've heard that shit too.
But
yeah, it's like representation of that literal concept right there. And they like if you just have chaos, it will consume itself. Boom. that's what that represents. So you need to essentially make that what I don't know what the exact idea of the trope is, but it's the eagle, and like the Mexican flag, the eagle and the snake.
Oh yeah, I recently watched a video about that and I already
Yeah.
forgot, but I remember
The
thinking
eagle
like, damn, that's
represents-
dope.
Represents like order and shit, and then the snake is chaos, and then it's like that's like there's a reason why they put that on their flag.
Yeah, I know there is a
right?
very big
Like,
significance to it.
It's very
I can't remember,
esoteric.
but-
It's very deep, but like people looking at it are like the eagle killed the damn snake, bro. They thought that was
you think-
badass.
Yeah, or that it's just like their fucking coat of arms or some shit.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it is their coat of arms, but I know that there was some like deep significance to it. I think the snake also symbolized like the chaoticness
tyranny.
of the like the Spanish that came there
Yeah,
first,
yep.
and the eagle represents like Mexico. I could be completely wrong. I'm just kind of ad-libbing it. I watched a video like
Yeah.
2 weeks ago,
That's
thinking it
right.
was dope, but it was something like that.
It's very interesting, bro. And then, I mean, you want to get esoteric with it? It's like, why do we even all have flags, bro? That comes from like the seafaring pirate days and like the influence that culture still has on
Well,
the
that's
entire
why
world,
flags
bro.
are the shape that they are, all of like rectangle, which I think it's Switzerland or Sweden. Yeah, Swiss, because the Swiss Iron.
Okay.
Yeah, their flag is a square. It's because they didn't really have fucking boats. They didn't have because, like, we had different flags. We had the standard that was like down.
the straight one.
But the reason flags are the shape now is because that was what we had on our fucking
We were
ships.
sailing
because,
them, bro.
Yeah, because that catches the wind the best.
Crazy.
Um,
And now it's just like
and
every
then that
nation.
kind of becomes standardized.
Yeah, every nation has their not every, but
Like they had flags before. They were just different, as
Or-
in
it would just be like an emblem essentially.
yeah,
Like,
you'd have your coat of arms and
Yeah.
put that on a standard. You usually have colors and shit.
pretty sick.
If you know what a standard is, I use that term.
What does it mean?
Well, yeah, I was gonna say it anyway for the thing.
I
The
think of it
standard
like-
is like the
yeah.
flag that in like medieval times, or whatever, they carry on a pole and it just kind of like hangs downwards and shit.
Okay, it's like a type of pole essentially then.
Well, it
Like a
carries the
flag.
flag, but it's just
Okay.
a downward type flag to like
Oh, okay.
rally the troops or when
It's
you're
like-
marching and shit. Sort
They
of
got
a
some
thing.
shit like that in Minecraft now, bro. Yeah.
Do that?
Yeah.
Some shit like that in Minecraft.
I've been playing that a little bit. It's kind of fun. They got a lot of shit in there.
Yeah, they're always adding shit to that game. Will it ever end?
Do you have a favorite archetype by chance, or one that fascinates you?
I don't know necessarily off of the ones I have. I'd probably need to hear yours more, but off of what you're saying, I think the Magician sounds the
Yeah,
coolest.
the magician's the badass.
But the King
one, bro.
also sounds like, I don't know, the King is cool, but I wouldn't say it fascinates me as in curiosity, but
I can respect it.
it's,
for
yes,
sure.
it's one that I see the most inherent value in, whereas like the Magician fascinates me, and there's definitely value in it, but it's one of, I don't feel like it is as necessary to complete the puzzle, if you will, whereas I feel like a King,
Like maybe it's a pinky finger on the body instead of like the heart or
yeah,
something.
where it helps a lot, but it's not
Or a thumb. Yeah.
necessary.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
it's
feel you.
the leader. I'd say is probably the thumb. The
Yeah.
King. I think you need the rebel, the pointer finger, and then there's, well, you get those two foils, and then you need.
The average Joe.
I don't know what the term is for it, but I'm gonna go with the literary term I know of, the heart. The person who.
The probably it would be like the caregiver archetype or the lover. There's two different ones.
There's two different ones. Mind getting into those, and then we'll see which one.
Loosely, because I didn't take notes on those two, but loosely from what I know, the caregiver, I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. They just care about caring about people. That's like their core central purpose is, I just want to give myself to the service of other people, and do the right thing, I guess, essentially, for whatever situational happening there is. But the lover is more focused on passion, focused on, essentially their love for people and and the love that they get from people, like making that function, like focusing on relationship aspects of their life, basically, and like thinking that love is the highest value. And that's different than care, right? Because you
Yes.
can care about somebody, and it's not always expressed in the same way as love. You know, it's a little different.
Yeah, so I'd say, like, in the literary sense of what I'm thinking of, the heart more so falls under the caregiver,
Yeah.
and they can have aspects of the lover, but it's not required.
And I would
But-
say that if you have one, you more than likely exhibit some of the other, unless
Yeah.
you're like a anomaly. Yeah.
Yeah, because so you need, the leader, essentially, your strong-willed paragon. You need a rebel to make sure that they don't get so stuck in their ways,
Mm-hmm.
and to make sure that they're seeing other points of view,
Right.
because the world is not so black and white, and sometimes, the leader may fall into that, the king. And then you
Or
need...
more or less, that may be his role to look at things in that black and white.
Well, that's sort of what the rebel is to, the rebel then is to be like, well, think about it like this, and
Right.
kind of to fight that order. And then you need the caregiver to keep the balance and stop them from killing each other, essentially. And, so they're not at each other's throats the whole time, to bring that balance in it all.
Right.
And that's essentially a three-man band storytelling trope, but
Very true.
there's a reason for it, and those, I feel like, are the three most important pillars of the archetypes, whereas the other ones likely are needed and will progress you towards your goal faster, more efficiently. But if you don't have those three pillars, I feel you are likely doomed to crumble, whether it be in your life or towards your goal. I don't know if you need it towards a goal, but you definitely need it in life in general. You need those three aspects.
Right. The aspects of that. I agree.
So, what other ones you got notes written down on? Because you mentioned briefly some of the sage. If you wanted to flesh that out a bit more.
Oh, the sage, bro. So, I don't know. Basically, with the sage, it's pretty much what you were talking about with, like, the philosopher. That's literally what, if you look it up, what it says is, like, basically the philosopher, they think about the more metaphysical meaning of things, and that type of shit. I don't know. It's not really. I don't have too much else to
Well,
say on
you
it.
kept prescribing wisdom to it, as if we're gonna go to storytelling tropes again, the mentor figure.
Yeah.
It would be your fucking Gandalf, your Obi-Wan.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
Yeah, Roshi, and it with my thought of, like, the philosopher, it doesn't need to be those kind of characters where they're wise, where they're
I
it's
just
just
feel
somebody
like
who
that might be like a
wants to know shit.
natural progression of that type of person, but maybe not as
well,
well.
it definitely would be, and I'd say it's probably a subtype of them.
Yeah. Because, like, technically, if, like, the master, the teacher, whatever is, like, the one of the rarest, then, like, there's got to be whatever leads into that,
Yes.
which is like what you're saying. Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't know. It's just like I kind of pondered what would create that nature in a human being. What would make them want to not be okay, I guess you would call it, in a Jungian sense, than everyman. Why they wouldn't want to just be an everyman, or what would you call it? Non-peripheral.
Oh, the peripheral exclusionary.
Peripheral exclusionary. Like, that's essentially what they would call an everyman, where, like, you just want to get along, you just want to exist, you don't need to ponder the deeper meaning. And
Well, okay,
yeah.
so that kind of gets into my other one, which, sorry, if you want to finish your point real
No,
quick.
yeah, it's just that I think that there's something to the idea that maybe I don't want to say trauma, but maybe trauma is linked to those people wanting deeper knowledge, if it isn't just something that appeals to them naturally, because the reason I say that is because if you've been, I don't know, hurt or damaged or feel wronged by the world, then maybe one of the only things that would keep you going is, like, finding out more truth about the world, so that you don't get wronged by the world anymore. So you just quest for truth and you want to understand things.
Well, yeah, but I feel like if you're a philosopher, you're more likely to do such a thing, whereas somebody who fits in the peripheral exclusionary zone
Yes.
would accept that. Like, I don't know how much you watch South Park, but there's an episode where Stan gets broken up with and he becomes a goth kid or whatever. And then at the end of the episode, Butters gets broken up with. And Stan's like, oh, so you want to be goth now? And he's like...
Is that the Hot Topic one or no?
No, that's a different episode with the goth kids. But no, so then Butters is broken up with and he's like crying on the street. And Stan asks if he wants to be goth. And he essentially says something like, you get the highs and the lows of life, but only because of these lows can I feel such highs. So yeah, it's good. It sucks and it hurts right now, but
you're right.
I go through this because I know I'll feel better. Plus, I don't want to be a fake little goth kid. He says something like that. Just shits on.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, so
no, it's true that actually you could become an everyman or a deeper philosophical type of archetype based upon traumatic experience. Like, it could go one of two ways. They're just inversions of the same thing.
So I say the peripheral exclusionary are those who are unconcerned with the broader goings on in the world by willful choice. So my other archetype of chaos, I'd say that's chaotic good. And there's chaotic neutral, which I just named the NPC.
Oh.
The category, it's similar to the peripheral exclusionary, but differing in the regard that, unlike the peripheral exclusionary, it is not willful choice. It's more of an unconscious thing. It's an unconscious choice to ignore the secondary and tertiary aspects of life. They just exist. They don't think about the deeper things.
They don't even really think about their choices and shit like that almost.
Yeah,
right?
it's like they might, but I mean they could think about their choices.
It's on a basic level, almost.
Yeah, it's not as deep with everything.
Yeah.
And I mean, people will say, "Oh, NPC, that's insulting," but
they do. People get offended at that, but
Am I wearing my NPC hat today? No, I'm wearing my. Let's get this brought. I have a hat that just says NPC, but no,
it's a real thing. People exhibit behavior like that. It's a real form of expression.
It's probably the most common of these archetypes,
right?
And I feel like the negative aspects of it are very apparent. A lot of people talk about it these days.
Well, you're just very. I feel you would be very lacking as just an individual. Essentially, there's no depth to you.
Well, there doesn't need to be. Obviously, it's a lot easier for people in this archetype to fall into the trappings of instant gratification, groupthink, all that jazz. But being go with the flow kind of person, being very
surface level.
It is beneficial to society for the same reason. It's almost like I'd say the peripheral exclusionary is somebody who has the mindset of the philosopher, but then shows it is more beneficial to be of the NPC type.
Okay.
So that's why I say that's a willful choice for the NPC. They don't realize that, but that's fine. They are the soldiers in your army, if you will, of, you can have a great fucking leader, a fucking genius strategist at his side.
Right.
But if you don't have some people to kind of follow along without question, your army's going to fall apart. You're not going to be able to besiege any fucking castle, bro.
Right, I feel that.
So
that's valid.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of the pros from them are the same to that of the peripheral exclusionary, but it's an unconscious choice.
I guess, yeah, the drawbacks from it would only be to those who desire deeper shit, right? Like, you would be unappealing to those who desire that. I guess that's where I was coming from on that, but you're right in the fact that they do serve an essential role.
Yeah, and they offer a much more simplistic outlook on the world that when people like us get very bogged into the
details,
the microcosms or the macrocosms, they're just like telling you what's going on the surface level that you might have overlooked or underlooked, whatever.
It brings you back. For sure.
It's a good
it grounds you.
Grounding, yeah, there you go.
And that's like a real thing too with I don't know what kind of archetype you would fit into, but with like narcissistic type of folks, it's like they don't have no grounding, and I don't know where the grounding comes from. I just know that it's good to be grounded, to have some form of humbleness.
I feel like you could be a narcissist in almost any of the categories, at least that I've laid out. Realistically,
Yeah.
um,
Well, it's where you care. Yeah, where you care about what you care about, and not what
yes.
they care about.
Because the NPC, while they are more likely to kind of just care about their own life, that doesn't mean they don't care about the people in their own life.
Right.
And that also can be detrimental because, as I said, I feel like that the NPC group is most susceptible to groupthink and the trappings of instant gratification because they're not looking at bigger picture things.
Yeah.
Oh, everyone around me thinks this. I'm going to think this too. It's probably right. I don't really have a reason to question the people around me. And that becomes
They
detrimental.
can get taken advantage of.
They could easily take advantage of.
Yeah.
But they still provide that surface level.
Advantage for somebody.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, you still need that. There's still a nice grounding. And
Yeah.
as long as they are geared towards moral goodness and they
Right.
were, raised with the proper moral alignment, they are a huge benefit to society. We need people working in factories
Right.
and all that shit. And
we can't all
doing
be, the innovators and the.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Because if we were all the innovators, well, nothing would actually be made because we'd be coming up with these genius fucking ideas and blueprints, but nobody to help build them.
Yeah,
and
if we were all
hold
innovators.
the infrastructure together to even allow us to do such a thing.
Right. Like, if we were all one thing, then we would all be nothing. Like, if we all have it, we might as well none of us have it.
Right.
That's very true.
So, again, it goes to
Respect,
that.
bro. To every archetype.
And fucking, I feel like trying to think of what a pro they would have over the peripheral exclusionary, because this was the most recent one I wrote, so I didn't do as much of it. Kind of wrote down this morning.
The only, yeah.
Like with it being, because I feel like there definitely is a difference that I can even tell from talking to people who are willfully, I don't care about this shit, or who don't care about it because of ignorance or not aware of it or what have you.
Yeah. No, you're right. There's a difference between those two.
So what would be because I feel like there's got to be a benefit. Maybe this is my analytical self needing this, but that there is some benefit to
Yeah, to like being
ignorant.
completely like
Because
willfully
ignorance is bliss, so that could be.
this is the willful ignorance that we're talking about, right? Like
I'm saying a benefit of being, unconsciously ignorant instead of
Okay.
willfully ignorant.
okay.
And I just said ignorance is bliss, and that kind of makes me think that would be it. Whereas the peripheral exclusionary runs the risk of, they know shit's broader and
this is what the benefit is of the the person that is unconsciously ignorant, that it's literally the security, the idea that they are more secure than they are. Like, if you're not aware of all these potential flaws or shortcomings or things that could get you, then you're okay. Like, in your reality, those don't exist.
Yeah.
They don't exist.
So yeah, that'd be a big benefit of that.
A contained reality.
That probably be more confident, but also they're gonna need less mental energy to kind of shut down some of this peripheral thoughts.
Exactly. Less worry.
Yes, because the peripheral exclusionary, while I assume, because as I said, the archetype I kind of based off Dan. He clearly thinks about some deeper shit to some regards, but a lot of the time, if it's not affecting his own goals in his life, he shuts it out. But that still takes some energy to do.
Right.
Whereas if
it's
almost
not like it's
second
almost,
nature.
Yeah, and it's almost like you're leaving a room in your head, but there's unfinished business in that room.
It's not like you're leaving a room. It's just like the room is there.
Yeah, and with the door still open. Type
Yeah, the
shit.
door is
Like,
open, and you're like, you close the door, but now you're like, I wonder what's going on out there. A little bit of you, and you gotta, fuck it, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're unaware, there ain't a door there at all, as far as you're
Exactly.
aware.
You're blind to it.
Yeah. So less mental energy, less.
Yeah, for sure. Like, and that's why I feel, you know, in my own personal life, I've gotten a lot of pushback to trying to give people that may fit that archetype truth, you know?
Yeah.
They're like, it's the cave analogy again,
Mm-hmm.
you know? You want to give them something, they're not ready for it, or they are in denial, or it basically it threatens their security. They don't like that. Go away. And it's just kind of having to understand that that's just a natural response that some people are going to have to truth or to
and then you wonder if
deeper shit.
If it's the exclusionary that, you know, is fucking, I don't want to hear this shit
Defensive
because
about it? Yeah.
because I don't want to talk about this shit because it doesn't affect me and I don't want to get bogged down in it. Sometimes too, because it's like, I know if I start looking at this shit, I will get into the nitty gritty. I will start caring about shit.
Yeah.
And like, okay, so I said proof of exclusionary is kind of based off Dan. That doesn't fit him perfectly because he does get into some nerdy shit, but like, he knows that he has that avenue. Whereas if he were to open himself to philosophical shit, bogged down, doesn't matter, fucking push it aside.
Mm-hmm.
The NPC, you don't even know this shit exists.
And upon hearing it, it just doesn't click.
It
with
just
you.
sounds like fucking somebody
mumbo jumbo.
Yeah, it's like I don't got time for your dumb shit. I'm worrying about the here and now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that can be beneficial. It can be detrimental. Literally either or.
Yeah. And it really is like that, where like sometimes one archetype just really might not be able to translate to another archetype. Like there's that type of incompatibility, but I do believe that there's something that could like be flipped or changed.
Well, I definitely think there's other archetypes in there that I haven't necessarily laid out that fill out the whole piece, if you will, so that the message from the deepest philosopher can make it to the NPC in understandable terms.
Okay.
And I feel as if the media sort of learned how to do such a thing, and like fear mongering and all that kind of shit on both sides. You know, I say openly I'm on the right with all this shit, but there's fear mongering on both sides with every fucking thing. And I feel as if that is a clear way to take advantage of the NPC type people who are unaware that it's even going on necessarily.
And it also is kind of a way to take advantage of the inversion of them as well.
Yeah.
Right? Because they know what's happening, but they can't really do shit about it. So it's like,
or they get bogged down on focusing on that instead of something broader.
Yeah.
And because it's something that invokes an emotional response in all of us of fear, because evolutionarily speaking, fucking Jimmy got mauled by a lion in that cave over there. Stay away from that cave. You need to remember that more than, oh yeah, fucking 3 miles that way, there's some berries that we found and ate. Like, you know.
Yeah, survival. Yeah.
Exactly. So there's a reason we tend to focus on the negatives, and people have kind of learned how to exploit that.
Right.
But there's some beneficial way to communicate with the NPC to get them with you, if you will, that, well, I'm young, I haven't figured it out yet.
Right.
But there's certainly another archetype or a way to go about it for the deepest of philosophers who care too much about the tertiary bullshit. So, yeah, that's all the 4 I got.
Fuck. All right.
What other Jungian ones of note do you have, or any other questions, anything to flesh out a little more?
Shoot, I really we hit on everything. Yeah, that I had. Because I just had like more stuff about, you know, which ones are interesting to you. Do you think they're all as valid as each other? Does one, you know, serve any less benefit than the next? Like, that's, you know, we covered all that.
Well, do you think there's any that serves any less benefit?
Okay.
In the Jungian ones, at least, that you're familiar with?
It's kind of like I was saying, like, one might be the pinky finger, and one might be more equivalent to something like the heart or something like that. Yeah, but in terms of which one specifically, I don't know. Like, I would say maybe the Joker or the Jester type of archetype is like, and it's just bias for me, right? But like, that kind of annoys me. Like it doesn't work well with my serious.
Could you
more,
dive into those
Yeah, like
and the differences between the two?
essentially. I mean, I don't know what the difference. I think they would be the same, Jester, Joker, where you just are a fool essentially. Like you're whimsical.
Well, see, there's a difference with the fool and how I was prescribed it. So are you saying? Because I know in the car I mentioned something about the fool.
Yeah.
Were you saying that that's like just a synonym for the Joker, or are they genuinely different things in Jung's writings that you?
From what I know, they're like one and the same, but maybe I'm wrong.
I'm looking them up, but
yeah, I really don't know.
Is the Jester and Joker one in the writings you, or was that also synonym type deal?
Yeah, like synonym. Just from what I researched, Jester, Joker, like are the same. Like maybe they're like sub archetypes, but they're under the same umbrella. Yeah. And it's basically just that umbrella, I guess, would be like the fool, like who's not afraid to shamelessly, make a fool of themselves or be humorous or do something shameful or do something against, norms or whatever. And like sometimes to me that is very off-putting or annoying because there is a reason for the order that we have. There is a reason for like things that we do that not all of it, some of it's unnecessary, some of it's bullshit, but like and they don't do the thing like the magician does where they transmute the situation for the better. I feel like they do it in whatever way that they want. So like,
but when you say that bringing some sort of levity and to the experience is beneficial,
they're providing an energy to the thing, which is good.
Yeah. So real quick though, just looking at this list right here.
Yeah.
Yeah. There is no Joker or fool. It's just Jester. There's ruler, creator / artist, sage, innocent, explorer, rebel, hero, wizard, jester, everyman, lover, and caregiver.
Okay.
And I'm thinking when I think of the fool, it's probably gonna be what the innocent is, but continue on the jester and the sides to them.
Shit, I don't know. I have nothing else.
Well, because like the fool, I don't know why this article just has them listed, but not what the fuck they are.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of wacky.
Yeah,
articles.
so the fool is that naivety that you kind of know you don't know everything and you're open to new ideas, but like you're not stuck in your ways yet, but you're not necessarily smart. You're not like, oh, I know everything, but you are smart in the manner of it makes you more open to ideas.
Okay, right.
And thus is very beneficial in something that, my personal archetype of like philosopher also is likely to get bogged down in the idea that, once you know a certain amount, oh, I know everything I need to know. Well, you don't. You need to have yourself more open. And in the first chapter of Beyond Order, by Jordan Peterson, he talks about this, and this really stuck with me. And he kind of talks about how, I know in a lot of work senses, people who are at the bottom rung of, the work hierarchy will be like, oh, fucking the manager's shit, I could do this so much better and all this shit. And instead of, accepting, I probably don't know everything and opening themselves up to more ideas to work their way up the ladder, they become resentful. And likewise can happen with somebody in a managerial position where they forget all the work they put in to get to that position. And you kind of need to have this, knowledge that you don't have all of the answers.
Yeah.
And somebody below you or somebody above you might have the answers you need, and to listen to everybody and be naive in that sense. Open yourself up to be a fool from time to time, to hear things. It talks about the tarot card, the fool, and how it's actually a beneficial thing. But I don't remember the depth of all that very well. But
yeah, no, I was just thinking initially more of like, I guess like what you would call like like a class clown or a clown type of motherfucker, where like you're just like, you're not serious about anything. You don't care about being serious about anything. You'll lie to people. big lies, little lies, whatever. It don't matter. Like, you don't hold like any core principles or values to you. Like, maybe you do, but they're not apparent. And like, those type of people frustrate me because it's like you're basically like, I don't know what you call it. Like, you would be outcasted from the from my fucking kingdom if I had a kingdom, but you're accepted because we accept everybody in this society. But like, that's just like, if I was a king, if I was like the king in the kingdom, yeah, it's just.
So, I mean, this is just a thing for writing, but because I don't know why it won't come up for the Jungian definition of what the jester archetype is, but the idea that they know what's going on, they're aware of it, but sometimes there's things that are hard to bring to light, and it's a lot easier to make a joke about it and
be a fool.
Yeah,
or
to
like,
be a fool.
You know, foolish.
To express something darker going on because
Yeah.
it makes it easier to handle for everybody. And that's one of the biggest motivation. One of the biggest benefits of the jester. And
Yeah.
yeah, to help
Like,
motivate people to
You're right. Like,
change.
I try
shit.
to like come off of that position myself, even to a degree, where I would get mad at, let's just say at work, like, I need to wait on a package, and somebody's like, they want to be a little jokester about it. They're like, I'm like, okay, it's 11 pounds, or they need to wait on a package. I'm like, it's 11 pounds. They're like, no, it's 10.6. Like, bro, that's 11 pounds. No, it's 10.6. You know it's not 11 pounds. Like, just trying to be like a jokester little asshole, like, that shit would piss me off. But like, to a lesser degree now than it used to. You know what I'm saying? Like, it used to be like, bro, I don't got time for your, like, it aggravates me to such a degree. But now it's like, okay, bro, like.
But especially, like, they're good in that sense too, where you're doing some shit all day working, like, oh, fucking
Right,
man,
and they're
I just want to
trying
get
to-
home, trying to
yeah.
make it more enjoyable of an experience for everybody.
They're trying to give you a little push and pull to the game of life, you know?
Yeah, like,
and,
let's make it so this fucking boring ass shit we're doing all day, it's at least somewhat enjoyable, so it's not like miserable all fucking day, and that's
Yeah.
the benefit of the jester, really,
Yeah.
to
So,
make sure you don't get bogged down too serious and
yeah.
doom and gloom.
Right, right, and which I can fall into sometimes. So
Yeah, exactly.
it's very. They're all valid, man. They're all a fucking piece of the body, and I love that.
Right. Well, you got anything else to add, or you wanna?
Shoot, no, just I would like to know if anybody watching has a dominant archetype, what it would be.
Yeah. What do you think your archetype is? Down below, you know, drop that shit in the comments.
One, it could be one we listed or completely made up like Trevor's were, whatever you want, you know?
Yeah, and tell us what you think the most interesting was. If you got any other thoughts on this stuff, drop a like if you enjoyed, and we'll see you next time.
Peace and love.
Peace and love, boys and girls. Sorry, not trying to exclude anybody here.
And the chimeras. Oh, shit.